What if your biggest goal was simply surviving the pressure? This is the true story of Xavi Simons, a boy born into football, thrust into a viral storm, then forced to choose between fame, fortune, and his future. But behind the highlight reels, a million follower headlines is a journey of setbacks, hard choices, and the fight to become more than just a hashtag. Born in 2003, Amsterdam, his father, Rogelio, was a striker in the Eredivisie, but young Xavi grew up with even bigger expectations because his whole life was already public. By 7, he wasn't just a prospect, he was a YouTube sensation. By 10, international scouts already knew his name. By 12, he was a youth influencer, unboxing night kits, posting freestyles, and posing for sponsors. But with every post, the pressure grew. 1 million Instagram followers by 14, more than some senior pros in La Liga. He signed his first Nike deal before puberty. Some called him the new face of football. Others called him an Instagram kid. At Barcelona's La Masia, Simons wasn't just another prospect. He was becoming the main attraction, drawing crowds, sponsors, and sometimes even jealousy. Social media made him a global name before his first senior match. He was treated like a star, exclusive boots, brand shoots, more media than most B-teamers. But not everyone loved the circus. Some coaches felt like he was bigger than the team. Teammates joked that he should have his own TV show. A few even resented his fame and waited for him to slip. But behind the Instagram stories, the real story was about grit. He worked relentlessly, driven by his father's words, earn every pass, even when no one's watching. Then came the first real setback, a knee injury at 14. He spent months in rehab as friends got promoted and the world's attention started to move on. Simons' life was football, but also business. Before he could even drive, Nike, Adidas, sports agents all came calling. Super agent Mino Raiola took him on, promising him to secure his future. Every club in Europe watches every move, not just for talent but for brand potential. Sponsor dinners, youth influencer events, contract negotiations. This was the adult world long before adulthood. He made headlines not just for goals, but who he sat next to at dinners or what boots he wore. Yet, with all the attention came a contract standoff at Barcelona, one that would change his entire life. In 2019, contract talks with Barca hit a wall. Simons wanted a clear path to the first team, not just hype. Barca offered tradition, not guarantees. Raiola pushed for a deal that matched Xavi's value, on the pitch and in the market. In came Paris Saint-Germain with a stunning offer, a professional contract at 16, €1 million a year, the promise of a fast track to first team football and a global marketing push. Simons signed, and the Spanish media called him greedy. Some fans said he chose fame over football, but for Simons, it was more about being trusted to play. Yet arriving in Paris, he learned that being a future star means nothing in a dressing room full of superstars. Simons was introduced as the future, giant billboards, youth ambassador, face of the club's social media, but reality was harsher. At 16 and 17, he trained with legends. Neymar, Mbappe, Marquinhos, later Messi. But game time was rare. Mostly cup matches, sometimes late sub appearances, but never enough to sell. Behind the scenes, he was struggling. Homesickness, isolation, hours of individual work with a psychologist. He called his mother every night. His role shrank under new managers. In the Champions League squads, he was often just there for experience, and some nights he'd go home feeling invisible despite being on posters everywhere. But Xavi Simons never blamed no one. He studied, waited, worked on his physical profile, and realized sometimes you have to walk away from stardom to find yourself as a footballer. The viral kid, the next Messi, at PSG, Simons almost quit football at 18 after being left out of a Champions League squad. He leaned on family, journaling, and meditation to survive. Some nights I thought I'd never play again. My family reminded me why I love this game. PSV wasn't about hype, it was about proving he could lead, not just trends, and here Xavi found his fire again, and the rest of Europe took notice. In his first debut season, he was the Eredivisie top scorer at 20 years old with 19 goals and 9 assists. He had a man-of-the-match performance versus Ajax in the title-deciding game. In the cup final, he bagged a goal and assist with tears on the podium. He played like a man with something to prove, because he did, said Ruud van Nistelrooy. He became a locker room leader, sprinting for lost causes, never shying away from a tackle, and these are some of the qualities that are still part of his game. The world finally saw the footballer, not just the viral star. After a very successful season with PSV, Xavi Simons still found game time hard to find at Paris Saint-Germain, and it was decided that a loan move to RB Leipzig back in the summer of 2023 would be the best step in his career. His first season at Leipzig was an absolute hit, which meant that in Europe, Xavi Simons finally silenced the doubters. A standout night against Arsenal, 1 goal, 1 assist, showed he wasn't just hype, but now a true difference maker and match winner on the continental stage. Finished that PSV season with a monster output. In 34 games, 19 goals and 8 assists. Analysts raved about his all-action style. His energy, movement, and work rate made him impossible to ignore. Dutch press drew comparisons to Sneijder, Seedorf, except now, this was Gen Z's version. But as Simons' reputation soared, so did the tug of war for his future, because the club that let him go, PSG, still had their clause in his contracts. That summer, PSG had every club in Europe after him. But Paris Saint-Germain weren't just ready to lose Simons for good. After his breakout at PSV, they activated his buyback clause in the summer of 2023. But in a surprise twist, instead of handing him a regular role, they sent him out on loan again to RB Leipzig. Another new country, a new system, nothing guaranteed. Simons arrived in Germany needing, yet again, to prove he was more than just a prodigy. He was a professional. Coach Marco Rose made it clear. There's no special treatment. You play if you deserve it. And that was all Simons needed, and Simons answered those questions. He ended that season in the German Super Cup, 1 assist and 8 key passes versus Bayern. He became the Bundesliga's top player for progressive carries and pressing actions, instantly beloved by the fans and respected by teammates. But beneath the surface, a drama was starting to brew. Would PSG ever give him the keys, or was he always destined to be loaned out, a superstar with no real home? After a brilliant season in Germany, the cycle repeated. PSG wanted him back, but just as fans in Paris dreamed of a new star, another twist. Simons, still under contract at PSG, was loaned back to Leipzig, forced to postpone his homecoming once more. Multiple clubs circled, but PSG's buyback power left his fate uncertain. Leipzig desperately wanted him. Simons was open, but PSG never gave him a clear promise. Another season, another fight for a real footballing home and for control of his own destiny. And so, with his future uncertain, Simons did what he'd always done. He let his football do the talking. The stage for his true arrival wasn't club football, but the international spotlight. After years of contracts, loans, and club politics, the biggest stage was calling. Euro 2024. Simons seized the moment. The semi-final versus England, 23rd minute. He picks up a loose ball, drives towards goal, leaves Declan Rice dusted and on the ground, and rockets a 25-yarder blaster past Pickford. He became the youngest Dutch scorer in a Euro semi-final since Marco van Basten, and social media exploded. The Wonder Kid has delivered at last. He hugged his mother, he wept on the pitch, and for one glorious night belonged to everyone, not just a club or a contract. He carried the weight of a nation and delivered. For Simons, the goal was bigger than a stat. It was the release of a decade of expectations, a statement. I am more than a clause, more than a brand. I am a footballer and I am home. Chelsea could be the club to platform where his story becomes a potential legend, a place to conquer the Premier League, inspire a new generation, and show the world that prodigies can become icons if only they find a club brave enough to believe in them. So when the next Wonder Kid goes viral, remember, it's not just about how many people saw your journey, it's about which club dares to give you the pen and let you write your own legends.